Hello, hi everybody. So here we are, another beautiful, beautiful day. So grateful, absolutely loving this weather. I'm not sure about you guys. Um, so we're here today doing our Q&A live support. So if you're joining us, please feel free to pop any questions into the comment box and I will do my best to answer as many, if not all, of your questions. If I don't get a chance to do it all today, I guess depending on how many questions come through, then we can maybe arrange to have a chat later. I can get back to you a little bit later on. Perhaps we could email. So I'm going to kick off. I've had a few questions come through from some clients of mine. So the first one, and I know that this will help so many people out there, and this was one of my main symptoms that I was so relieved to get over. So bloating, one of the awful side effects of having irritable bowel syndrome is the bloating. So I think, first of all, let's kind of just break it down and look at where it comes from. So, if we think about the stress response, so what we want to be thinking about is when we are digesting our food, when everything we want to do to have a really good, healthy gut, to have everything calm, we need to be in rest and digest. And quite often, unfortunately, we're in fight and flight. So, fight and flight is our sympathetic nervous system, and our rest and digest is our parasympathetic nervous system, even. So, years and years and years and years and years ago, when we go right the way back, when we needed to, for example, run away from the saber-toothed tiger, we would automatically go into fight and flight. And we would run away from, well, we'd either fight, wouldn't we? Or we'd run away. So saber-toothed tiger, I think we would all run away. I don't think anybody would be up for fighting that one. So we would be running away from the old saber-toothed tiger. So what happens then? So the energy that would go to your gut to digest your meal is totally diverted away. Because at that moment in time, is the body interested in digesting your food? No, not at all. It wants to get you away from the saber-toothed tiger to safety. It's all about saving your life. So ultimately, all our energy goes to muscles, goes to pupil dilation, goes to increasing heart rate. And there you go, absolutely able then to run for your life. And then when everything calms down, when the threat of life has surpassed, then we can come back into our rest and digest. And then obviously we can look at digesting our meals a lot better. So we need to be thinking, in this day and age, unfortunately, a lot of us are in our stress response, sometimes 24/7. We don't even realize it. And I know that this was an issue for me. I didn't actually realize I was stressed because I was stressed all the time. That was just how it seemed to be, how life seemed to be. And this is not the way that our genetics have not caught up with the fact that we have this ongoing stress now. We have, I suppose before lockdown, many people would be, working long hours, having kids to look after, the shopping, the cooking, the cleaning, stress going on in relationships. I mean, that's still happening, obviously, maybe even more so now. We're all like locked in together. And then if you look at our current situation now with so many people at home, not able to escape, having to look after kids, having to school their children, keep them entertained. Maybe they've got babies, they've got no me time. This is all stress on the system completely. So ways then I want to talk to you about helping to alleviate some of that stress, because in doing so, you can help to affect so many of your IBS symptoms and not just specific to bloating. I'm just seeing a few people jump on. So hi, Pamela, and hi, Matt. So one of the key things that we can do, obviously, is manage our stress. And I find a real simple way to do it is literally 5 minutes of meditation. And every single morning, it's the repetition that really helps to make such big changes. It really helps us to get into that parasympathetic, that rest and digest, and carry it throughout the day. And it's been proven through research that just 5 minutes can have this impact of lowering our stress response. It brings our cortisol levels down, and then all that stops interfering. So if you can really just think about just carving out 5 minutes in your morning just to sit, and people go, oh, I can't meditate. How do you meditate? I can't clear my mind. It's not about clearing the mind. One of the simple ways that I ask my clients to meditate, and you can try this as well. So you can either breathe in, let, and exhale, go. So every time you inhale, you say let silently in your mind. And then as you exhale, you say go. See if that works for you. Another one that works is inhaling and exhaling to 10 and then start again. So inhale 1, exhale 2. Inhale 3, exhale 4. And so on until 10, and then start again. And it just helps to switch off the mind, get you more into your rest and digest. And then you've got more digestive juices for digesting all your meals. Another thing that you can do, so if you are a stressy person, if you already know that you're stressed, and I know a lot of my clients have said that they really are at the moment, then doing some simple breath work just before you're going to eat. Breathing in for 3, breathing out for 6. So do a double. If 3 is too much, do 2. Breathe in 2, breathe out 4. Or breathe in 3, breathe out 6. Kind of like do what feels right for you. Do it a few times until you start to feel yourself calm down. And then by doing this, you're engaging with your rest and digest. So you're going to digest your meal quicker. So if we're not in rest and digest and we're going to eat a meal, think about this. Digestive enzymes that we need to digest our food aren't secreted because you're in fight and flight. You're running away from saber-toothed tiger. Not interested in digesting a meal right now. Thank you very much. So just by getting yourself into that calmer state of mind, will switch on your parasympathetic. You will have better secretion of stomach acid, which starts to break down the food. You will have more secretion of digestive enzymes. And I would also encourage you to always do your best to move away from any electronic devices. I know how hard that can be. I know how addicted we are to our phones, but try and move away from electronic devices. Sit somewhere quiet, ideally at a table. And you also want to be thinking about chewing. So how often do we eat a meal and we're unconscious? Totally just throw it down our necks. So what we want to do is get in a habit of counting. So I find if you're not used to doing that, just start by physically counting every single chew. And we want to be looking at between 20 and 30 times each mouthful. That sounds a heck of a lot. Some people might maybe do 3 or 4, 5, 10, maybe, and think they're doing a good job. But if your system is compromised, you need to chew that food as much as you can. So really, really work on that. The more you enable that food to be digested, and just think salivary amylase starts digesting carbohydrates in your mouth. So the more that you can digest your carbs in your mouth, the less work the rest of the body is going to have to actually have to digest. So as much as you can do, breathe in so that you switch on your rest and digest, breath work, do it every time before you eat, chew the food as much as you can, try and work on, getting yourself to 20, then maybe 30, see how you get on. Those are like some key tips that you can do just to help the whole digestive system to reduce the bloating. So the other ones we said, sitting at a table, away from your electronic devices. So those are key ones as well. The other things that we can think about, especially with bloating, and I know for a lot of people, when we've been under stress for so long, we actually do damage our gut. And then that can lead on to a little bit of a leaky gut or a lot of a leaky gut, depending. Depends how bad your reactions are. So supporting that is really, really important. And I would encourage some gut healing. And I do work with my clients on a one-to-one scale to do that. But things that are healing that you could put in right now, aloe vera juice. And I know not everybody likes the taste of it, but just have like even a 30ml shot in the morning on an empty stomach, and maybe again at night, will really help to soothe and calm, and is really good for the whole digestive system, for reducing inflammation. and then hopefully to just settle everything and help with the bloating as well. Another great thing for bloating is peppermint tea or peppermint oil. So they could be the things that you kind of reach for when you're feeling bloated. But the other thing that is super good to know about is not to drink your drinks with your meals. So we want to be having maybe some water, and I would say warm water rather than cold water, herbal tea or something non-caffeinated, half an hour before you eat, which will help to stimulate your digestive enzymes. And then ideally leaving it a couple of hours afterwards, or just taking sips, but no like big drinks after, because you just dilute your enzymes and it does increase the bloating. Other things to think about with drinks. So stimulants, they do affect bloating. Caffeine has been shown to be one that can really, make people bloat quite a lot. Obviously, alcohol is another one, and it does damage the gut. So everything in moderation, and I like be thinking about that as well. And then other things that you might want to consider is keeping a food diary. So I find this really, really helpful with clients. Keeping a food diary, but also scoring how you feel. So as you make a list of what you've had for your breakfast, and it might be what you had for your breakfast and then how you felt after, like how was your energy, score it on a 1 to 10. How was your bowel movement? Like how many did you have? How was your bloating? Score that on a 1 to 10. If you're using it specifically for the bloating, see if you can find a pattern with the food you're eating and your symptoms. Yeah. So that would be kind of like a first thing to do. It can be really, really insightful. And it can also throw up then if you've got food intolerances going on. The other things I would recommend was consider getting rid of, or at least majorly reducing, things like dairy and wheat, because both are really, really hard to digest. And also gluten. But I can see how that can be really, really difficult for people. So if you were just to remove maybe the dairy and the wheat initially, and then maybe try and, if you see some improvements there, you might want to go and remove the gluten and just see, do you have even more progress? Because, even if you're not intolerant, if you've had a food test done and it didn't come back, so you're like, well, I'm not intolerant to this, or I'm not sensitive to it, so I can eat it. It's not going to harm me. It's not going to cause me any trouble, is not true. So you can come back with not having an immune intolerance, but not actually have the enzyme to break stuff down. So you might not have the lactase to break down the lactose, which we find in milk. It's a milk sugar. So those are other things to think about. And just the fact that, like I say, they do put a strain on the system. They are really difficult to digest. So have a think about, if not getting rid of completely, then at least reducing those in your diet. The other thing that can be helpful, because as I've said in previous videos, SIBO, the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, can be attributed to about 70% of IBS cases. So if we look at a low FODMAP diet for a little bit, and then maybe putting some antimicrobials, antifungals, and if anyone is wanting any information on those, then, happy, if you want to give me a call, we can have a chat through. I do like to work with clients quite closely when we're doing those kind of clearances and make sure that we're getting the levels right for said person and that they follow it for the right period of time, because everyone is different. So I like to kind of catch up with people at 2 weekly intervals just to see, are we ready to move on? Do we need to increase dosage, decrease dosage? But these are all things that we can think about in terms of affecting our bowel bacteria, getting rid of anything that's, not helpful, reducing the SIBO, and following the low FODMAP. So FODMAPs are highly fermentable. So a lot of people really struggle with that because of displaced bacteria. So if you were to follow a low FODMAP diet, I would say for sure don't do it forever. 6 weeks, I would say, would be an absolute maximum. You probably will be all right with some FODMAPs and not with others. That's what I tend to find. So I would not want to be restricting people from amazing foods like broccoli. So I tend to recommend putting that one in quite soon after, maybe take it out for a couple of weeks and then pop it in just in a small amount and see how you feel. But also just become aware of what you are experiencing when you eat food. So it's about becoming more in tune with you, more connected to how you feel after you've ate food. And a lot of that is slowing down, becoming more mindful. So when we do these mindfulness practices and meditation practices, then that can be what really helps us to be more aware of what is causing us our problem. Because I do believe we all have that ability within us if we stop, if we slow down, and if we listen. So take those pointers away with you. I'm just trying to think whether I had anything else on my list. I think I've covered pretty much everything. The other thing that you could do, actually, one thing that I was going to say to help with digestion, as well as the breath work and the chewing, obviously, add some citrus with your meals. So apple cider vinegar or some squeeze of fresh lemon juice. That can be really, really helpful. It might even be that you just want, let's say, 2 teaspoons or a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Look for it with the mother. The mother is where all your digestive enzymes are. With a little bit of warm water just at the start of the meal, just to kind of get those juices flowing and hopefully, help you digest. So hopefully that has been helpful. The diary thing, I think, would be a really good thing to do. And if you do want any more advice, help, if you're really struggling, because I know it's awful. I struggled for so many years and it literally felt like I was banging my head against a brick wall most of the time. So reach out, get in touch. I'm here to help people. I'm more than happy to, have a phone call, see what we can do. If you feel like I used to do, tried everything and nothing is working, then that's the time to reach out, because obviously there's something going on underlying that we need to get a resolve on for you. So hope that been helpful. So let's just see. Hi Sam, hi Lindsay, hi Gabby. So if anyone has got any questions, anything specific that they want me to cover off during this session, then please just pop it into the comments. Still got this funny throat thing after my virus, so I'll just have a little bit of water. Constipation was another one that came up. So all the similar advice again, for sure. It may be, for me, obviously, when I can get back in the clinic, colonic hydrotherapy is an absolute no-brainer for constipation, for clearing out those blockages, getting the functionality of the bowel to work better. A lot of the time, if you think it's a muscle at the end of the day, if we don't work on muscle, what happens to it? It becomes lazy. And then food doesn't move around the way it should. It stays in there, it stagnates, it putrefies, it damages the gut wall, bad bacteria builds up in there. Then we get gases, then we're bloated. A lot of the time it is all to do with stagnant waste. So colonic hydrotherapy, just 3 sessions, can, for a lot of people, shift all that awful waste in your system, kind of like a real quick reset, something, and it detoxifies the whole body as well. And then you can then work on a program of probiotics to replenish the good bacteria, hopefully follow the advice of eating a nice clean diet. And that's another thing I should mention as well. Are you eating processed foods? We should be eating either something or anything that comes from the ground or hanging from a tree. We want to eat from nature, and we want to get as much vegetables as we can in there. And I know people do have issues with certain types of vegetables. So take the fibrous ones out to start with, steam vegetables so that they are broken down and easier to digest. If you're struggling with digestion, then we know raw food's amazing, but it's not amazing for everybody. So lightly steaming, or maybe even steaming a little bit more for you, or having soups might be more a way to go initially. And then when the bacteria builds and the gut health gets better, then you can start to add in more of the raw foods that you may want to be eating. So as we can't get in the clinic and we don't have the option to do colonics, then it might be some cleansing herbs, and again, some probiotics as well. And the probiotics I would recommend, so just a point of caution, obviously, if you do have SIBO, then we don't really want to be creating any more of the, I'm going to say the wrong type of bacteria. It's not the wrong type of bacteria, it's just it's in the wrong place, but we don't want to create any more of that bacteria in the wrong place to cause even more issues. So it might be an idea to consider if you have got a huge amount of bloating, it's been going on for a long time, and maybe you've tried FODMAP and you know that it works, but you can't stick with it. Do a breath test to find out if you do have SIBO, find out what the levels are. And once we know what the levels of those gases, either methane or hydrogen, are in the system, we know how to approach it. We know how long we need to do the therapy for. We know how many rounds that we're going to need to do. And then we know at the end, in terms of stopping it coming back, that we need to do a prokinetic treatment for about 3 months just to keep everything at bay. So that would be something to consider doing, because if you're having a huge amount of gas, which I used to, and a lot of bloating, that can be what prevents your bowel from moving anyway. So, it just gets blocked. It's like a brick wall. So get rid of the gas and then the bowel might just start moving. It might not be that you've got slow transit time at all. It might just be a buildup of gas. So that can be really helpful. The other thing, so probiotics, sorry, I was getting onto that. Optivac I like. So Optivac Max, but again, I would say err on the side of caution if there is SIBO, but Optivac Max work on 8 out of 9 symptoms of IBS. Great, well-researched strains in there, 50 billion per capsule. So you could try them and see how you get on with those. Saccharomyces boulardii is another one. It's not actually a probiotic, it's a yeast, but it works in a similar way and generally tends to suit a lot of people, although sometimes with constipation, it can make people a little bit more constipated. So you might have to kind of take it alongside a colon cleanser, but a natural colon cleanser. Again, if you want some advice on that, I'm more than happy to direct you to the good ones that I use in my clinic and I get, huge success with. So for constipation, you're looking at, either colonic hydrotherapy when we can get back in the clinic. You're looking at your diet to see, are you eating enough fresh fruits and vegetables? You're looking at, eliminating things like wheat and dairy and gluten. You're looking at digesting your food effectively, reducing your stress levels, all the things that we discussed before. You could also throw in, which again is super helpful, abdominal massaging. So in a clockwise direction every morning, if you massage your abdomen, especially if your system is slow, or you've got trapped gases in there. So again, it's also good for bloating. If you start off at the bottom right-hand corner and work your way all the way up and then across the top and then down the left-hand side of your abdomen and keep doing that. It's like a circular motion, really kind of get behind it. That can help to move your waist along. And then hopefully we can start to re-engage the brain and the gut, because quite often when we're constipated and it's gone on for so long, that connection has gone. And if we think the brain and the gut were all born out the same part of the embryo, they share the same chemical messages. So hence when we're stressed, it affects our gut, and especially if we're a sensitive type of person. So I think that was it in terms of the constipation. Diarrhea, on the other scale of things, I've had a few people get in touch wanting some advice for diarrhea. A lot of the time we do need to do a test, and I do like to find out from people specifically when it first started, was it potentially, food poisoning, or were they on holiday? Could it be a parasite? We need to look at these sorts of things because we don't want to let that carry on. If it's anxiety related, maybe you've had a few episodes in the past where you've maybe had an accident and now it's like, oh my gosh, I've worked with a few clients like this. They literally have fear of leaving the house in case it happens again. And so it almost is going to happen because they've gone into such a fear that that's kind of what's going to trigger it anyway. So therapies like EMDR, so eye movement desensitization, reprocessing, can be really helpful in those instances. And I do have a lady that I work with. If anybody needs any support in that respect, if they know that anxiety is like a major reason why they're having all this urgency. So that's one. EFT also can be really, really helpful. And even for you, like doing yourself like affirmations of every single day of how you want it to be, and moving yourself away from that fear can be really helpful. And again, if anyone needs any support in that respect, I'm happy to go through that in a bit more detail. And then Saccharomyces boulardii is another one that has been life-changing for a lot of my clients. I use the Cytoplan one, and I tend to use about 3 a day, split doses, and then just say, have them to hand when you're going out. I remember working with a lady, and it was just awful. She would go out for a meal and she would have to sit by the toilet, and literally as soon as she ate anything, she was just dashing to the toilet, and she was just in fear the whole time that she was going to have an accident. And it's just not a nice place to be, and never wanting to go out and socialize because of fear that this might happen. And pretty much as soon as we got her onto the Saccharomyces boulardii, everything calmed down, and now she's just having a normal life. So that is one of the things that I do recommend for those urgent diarrhea type instances. However, caution that we do really need to find out what is driving that. If we maybe know that after I have diarrhea, I always rush off to the loo. Well, there's your gut telling you what it might be. So have a try at cutting out the dairy and see whether that resolves your issue. So those are the kind of the key 3 areas that I had received questions in relation to. Let's just see if there's no other questions come in. So hopefully that has given you enough advice. And like I say, if you do want any further support, reach out and just drop me an email or send me a text or just give me a ring, and we'll set some time aside and we'll go through in a little bit more detail. So thank you to everyone who jumped on. I appreciate it. It's nice to see people. And have an amazing day, an amazing week. Hopefully it's going to be super gorgeous weather all week. So make the most of it, and see you all soon. I'll be in here again next Monday. I'm going to try and do it live every Monday at 12 o'clock. So I'm just working through what's going to be coming up next week. So keep your eyes peeled and see you soon. Bye.